All right, man. Satan's Choice has spoken. Yes, as you noticed, Hollywood's been going on in the last couple days, but we got a response, and it's not what you're thinking. All righty, here we go. Anyway, one of the interesting things that I have been looking at is the growth of Satan's Choice and trying to understand how or why it's growing as it has been. Now, I was able to have a 45-minute conversation with somebody that could speak for the club and put their position out there. And as you know, I like putting everybody's position out there, good or bad, whatever. But I had two questions that I wanted answered personally because of all the drama that's been going on out there. The first one was Big Kaz put out on bad? And the reason why I wanted to know that is because the second question was, is this a pyramid scheme or is it truly real? Now, if Big Kaz was put out on bad, which he wasn't, by the way, he was not put out on bad. I'm going to stress that because some of you numbnuts out there are just going to get the first, what can I say? You heard, he must have been put out bad or something. He's not put out bad. But that would have helped answer the second question if it was, because, well, I thought you guys were against that and this is going to be different, all that kind of stuff. But he was not put out on bad. Their problems are their problems. I am not going to be talking about, what transpired or any of that stuff. You got to talk to Kaz or talk to them. But my question was answered. No, he was not put out on bad. Whatever the problems they had. Pyramid scheme. Or is it truly real? One of my videos I covered, and it pretty much pissed everybody off, was why would people be drawn to this type of organization? And if you look all over the place, I actually got a text message because everybody texts the studio line, where a former member of a club around here was put out on bad. And here's the reason. Remember, there's only supposed to be 3 reasons why the hell you get put out on bad. I guess it's not the case anymore, because if you piss in the wind wrong, next thing you know, you're out on bad. He borrowed a prospect's vehicle, got in an accident with said vehicle. And this was an old ass freaking truck or something like that. I'm talking ancient. But anyway, it was totaled. And he went to the, Kelly Blue Book or something like that, and offered them the maximum price to replace it. Well, the prospect came back and said, no, I want double that. And of course, you're not going to pay for something that ain't worth more than it is. But anyway, I guess this prospect was helping the club with some money and stuff. Next thing you know, even though he tried to do the right thing, he was kicked out on bad. That right there has what it has become out there with clubs. So when I asked if it's truly real, it's because of situations like that. People are so sick and tired of the games. You know what? An MC wasn't supposed to be about games. It was supposed to be about brotherhood. And it's very important that that question was asked, because to the older guys, it does look like a pyramid scheme. I've called it that. But you have to sit back and get outside your comfort zone, because I'm from one decade. This is a new decade. Things are done a lot different now. So when you see this kind of stuff all over the internet, you want to believe, if you will. A lot of people will buy into anything as long as their belief's there. And you have to see some of the concerns people have about that. But at the end, it's not me, it's not you that have to even decide. It's the person that's going in. But when talking to this person, you could really get the feel that he was telling the truth, that he really believed in what the Satan's Choice was about and what he's doing. They really believed in it. You could tell. Which is a great thing, man, because after hearing stories that I just told you and the many others that you hear all the damn time of all the nonsense that goes on out there and why people are put out on bad, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And that made me sit back and say to myself, well, how the hell is it growing so fast? Yeah, the internet can be one thing, but it can't be everything. It really can't. I was told that 200 people from Europe, established clubs, just flipped to the Satan's Choice because of their belief that this is a real deal. Now, if you step back and look at Canada, because I banged on Canada, trust me, I don't know what it is with me and Canada, but, the people are cool. Maybe we'll leave politics out of it this time. But if you look at Canada and how they operate, we have to remember Ma Boucher, probably said his name wrong. He is the one that were flipping clubs left and right. Now they're one of the biggest MC up in Canada. So how is it any different than what the Satan's Choice is doing now? They're doing the same thing. We just know more about it because of the internet. That's what it is, truly, guys. Because if you look at what they did in the 90s, early 2000s, where they flipped that whole country, we would have probably been sitting back and saying what we're saying now. Hey, what the hell? That's some BS, man. They should be doing this and they should be doing that. So that brought me to trying to understand the process that they're using. And again, it's none of my damn business. It's none of your damn business how they're doing it. It's their club. But I wanted to understand, because again, I'm from a different generation. And according to their representative, what happens is you have to be a former diamond. You got to prove that you're a former diamond. You got to go through the background checks. And of course, yes, you got to pay your money. And, he laid that out It's $600, just like it is any other club, you know. But you do got to pay for a patch, but you know, usually go through a different process to become a member. But that's not the case here. You got to be a former 1% member. You got to get a background check done. You have to have, there's other steps that really ain't talked about. And that reminded me of something that BD, and I guess on his show, I only caught a couple minutes of it, where they were talking, if you were able to get somebody to come your way and they were already a known 1%er, why would you make them prospect again? Because most 1%ers that already been through that stuff would never frickin' prospect. It just ain't happened. They've been there. They done that. They earned their stuff. And that's why they verify if they were actually a 1%er. And that was a good point brought up from BD's show. Should another 1%er that left the club have to reprospect and all that kind of stuff? They already know the rules. They lived the way they lived. And you're going to have a debate. And that's basically what everything is right here from all over the internet, is a debate with the hardcores, the cheerleaders, most people that have never been in a club. They're out there spewing off, trying to act like they can put their little 2 cents in. We see it all the damn time. All the damn time. Trust me. But when, again, it comes down to it, it's nobody's business but what the club's doing. And if they're able to back that patch, which honestly, you know, I'm always in contact with clubs. Nobody's had, you know, nobody said anything about having a confrontation here or there. They're truly doing their own thing, growing it the way they want to grow it. Now, you can ask yourself, is it right or wrong? That's up to you guys. But at the same time, you have to say, hey, what's it matter if you're not around them? Or what's it matter if you're not joining them? And what it is a bunch of internet hogwash that just gets drama going on within the scene. And that's one of the questions I actually had was, what kind of obstacles are the Satan's Choice facing right now? And that's the biggest one, is their growth. And you have to ask yourself, why is there such venom towards their growth? And it's simple. Everybody wants to be the biggest and baddest. And when something jeopardizes that, not only the propaganda starts moving, but there's a lot of hurt feelings. By the time this next year, Satan's Choice could be one of the big 5 or Big 10, whatever you want to call it, because they're on the move. Like I said, they just flipped the whole thing in 200 people in frickin' Europe. And yes, it is verified that Harley Gwynn, the founder, he goes and opens these chapters personally. It's known. Could you ask yourself if that happens with some of these other clubs that spread so quick? I don't know. But that's one of their main obstacles, because all the haters and stuff like that, everything that's said about them. But I asked them, people that are saying stuff about them, maybe do what I did and take a step back, get your head out of all these protocol channels, these protocol channels and so-called education websites. They're the biggest problems, because you have certain people that pull this stuff out of their ass, and next thing you know, they're trying to tell people this is the way it is when it really isn't that way. Then you got, of course, the ones that claim that you're giving away club secrets, through biker news, all that kind of stuff, when they're members themselves giving stories that wouldn't have been shared on the streets. That's hypocritical bullshit right there. So are MCs pissed at what Satan's Choice is doing? Damn right they are, because they're growing so freaking quick. They're going to be bigger than they are. But I think the real reason that they're pissed is because of how Satan's Choice is looking at everything. They want to get back to basics. This is what the representative told me. Back to basics, where there's no drama. We just want to ride our bikes. We want to party. Everybody wants that, yes? If you really sit back, you look at all the clubs, that's why people join. That's what they wanted. And I think that's why at the beginning of the video, one of my questions was, is this real? Is this really going to happen? You're building on a foundation that everybody wants, and that's why they are joining. Which would be a breath of fresh air if it pans out to be that case. One thing with me is I always get both sides of the story. Well, you flipped on this. No, I'm getting information and I reanalyze and all that kind of stuff. Same stuff you guys should do. I don't get into cheerleader mode. That's one thing you'll never find with me. I'm not a cheerleader for any club. You've seen it be called out straight up, where it pisses people off, or people get happy. But I'm not a cheerleader. And when something is right, you got to call it out as right. You want to join something that's real. A lot of people feel that Satan's Choice is giving them that option that no other club would. Like I said, when I talked to this one freaking guy who was put out bad on this, and it was a major damn club. And I'm sitting here, you're shitting me. Really? For one, he was a prospect. So a prospect freaking holds sway over a member? Why? Because of money? So you put a regular member out on bad after he tried to correct the situation, and you're wondering why people want to go to something they feel is real, and that, how can I say it without being a jerk? It's not about the reputation anymore to people. It's about finding something that they like. It's not about being Billy Badass. Everybody's tired of that stuff. So when you have a club like Satan's Choice come along, people are very interested, and it's going to piss everybody else off because they're growing, because they feel like they want to be able to keep their spot at the top of the mountain. Now, Satan's Choice also has riding clubs, social clubs, all that kind of stuff. So you can see that they're bringing together all this different aspects of the scene. Again, riding clubs, social clubs, those that can't make the step to the 1%er stuff. So you can see that it really is drawing a lot of people in, because they are giving people a place where they might have not have found it somewhere else. So you have to ask yourself, if that's happening, is that good for the scene? Now, I've been out of the scene for like 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years. And has it changed? You're damn right it has. Has it changed for the better? I don't think so. Because getting these stories every day about how people are treated, how they're put out on bad, no contact after, some of these guys, a lot of these guys take a big loss when they join an MC. Their family time, their money, their time themselves. They put it all in there. And next thing you know, when somebody gets butthurt, you're out on the frickin' street. There is no, well, wait a second. I thought you were my brother. No, you pissed me off. You're gone. That's what has been going on lately. I think that's an obstacle that not Satan's Choice is facing. But I think that's the obstacle and one of the biggest reasons why a lot of these MCs are pissed off. It's because they don't have what they're supposed to be. And that's the Brotherhood. What they have is politics, bullshit, and the need for power and politics, man. Never understood that in MC. You're not making any damn money. You're just paying into it. But that's human nature, isn't it? They want power and all that shit. So that was the basics of the conversation. What Satan's Choice wanted me to get out there was they're growing strong. They're doing it their way. They have tons of people that are interested in coming into their organizations. And I say organizations because they got riding clubs, social clubs, 1%er clubs. And that they're going to try their best to do it off that premise that this is real. So we'll see in the future how that materializes. But until then, maybe MC should step back a minute and say, do we need 1,000 rules? Or should we go back to true brotherhood, riding the motorcycles, partying, and doing what made joining a motorcycle club in the first place? Or do you sit back and sit there and let it be fake? Let it turn into something fake. Like, you know what? I used to say that major clubs used to have 25, 30 people in a chapter. Now you barely see them with 6. Why is that? Why are people not wanting to join them anymore? Maybe because the word is out. It's all a big lie. Could be, if you think about it. Because God knows everything on the internet spreads like fucking wildfire now. But I did appreciate the conversation that I had with them because I was able to understand it from a different point of view than what my generation understands. I guess, man, yeah, it's out with the old in with the new kind of stuff nowadays, isn't it? For real. But you got to decide if you want to go on the internet and rah-rah for your favorite club, or if you want to sit back with a logical viewpoint and look at all sides of the equation. But you have to admit that a lot of people are joining, and that's because they're in search of something that current MCs cannot give them. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. All that good stuff. Don't forget Insane Outlaw Rock over on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Get your playlist right now, baby. We'll catch you later. Get in the conversation.
Insane Throttle Outlaw Rock, featuring Insane Throttle and Defiant Afterlife. Get your playlist full of pure rock and metal. Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. Subscribe and crank it up.
Now